When Nexus Mods was sold a few weeks ago, a lot of people thought that maybe this was going to be a turning point for the platform. They were going to change things, they were going to stop the censorship, but we know that's definitely not the case. There have been tons of Stellar Blade mods that have been banned, and now we know, of course, that a Ready or Not mod that restored the original content that was recently removed by the developers has been banned. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I don't like Nexus Mods. I don't trust Nexus Mods. Hell, even one of the new owners of Nexus Mods had responded to one of my posts on social media and said, "Oh, send me all of these different questions. I'll be happy to answer them." Radio silent. He said, let his actions speak louder than his words. Oh, and he definitely did. So I don't trust Nexus Mods. I do not recommend anybody else trust Nexus Mods. And it's just not a platform that I personally use anymore. I use Based Mods, DEG Mods, Ayaka Mods, all great alternatives. And I know that they don't have quite the back catalog, but they're still a really good alternative for new games that are releasing. And I've talked about Ready or Not a bunch of times on the channel. I was so disappointed to see this happen because the developers didn't care about respecting their customers. If they did, they would have created basically two different versions of the game or the same base version, and then they would have patched the console version for these instances of censorship. Not that any of the censorship is good, but at least the people who have owned the game for multiple years wouldn't have been getting screwed over. It's not like they were offering us refunds or anything, but the highly regarded tactical shooter Ready or Not is now facing an intense anti-censorship backlash after the developer Void Interactive confirmed that sweeping content changes were being rolled out retroactively. That means it's not just for the upcoming console release, which did just launch, but also the existing PC players who purchased the games years ago. This was unfortunate to hear because, of course, there's not really a lot of ways for people who have already purchased it to fight back. Sure, you can go on Steam, you can leave a negative review, you can take to social media and voice your opinions, but it's not like you could hurt their wallets because you can't boycott it, and it's not like you can ask for a refund. Originally released in early access and officially launched in 2023, Ready or Not quickly gained a strong following for its gritty realism, challenging gameplay, and unflinching depiction of tactical SWAT scenarios. Again, I made a couple of videos on this. It will be linked down below. Void Interactive had attempted to frame the changes as minimal in their 87th developer briefing on Steam, referring to limited changes needed for console certification standards, but buried within the announcement were confirmations that these changes apply globally. That is the most worrying part. We, of course, know that they had said, oh, it's only a couple of small instances, like some instances of explicit nudity have been covered up a little bit more. Oh, player-induced dismemberment still has a large presence of the game, but is a little more limited as to when it occurs. It's still censorship, plain and simple. That is the problem. You could censor one single thing. You could make it so one character's cleavage is lessened. You could make it so one character is somebody who maybe doesn't have as much dismemberment as they previously did. It's still, at the end of the day, video game censorship. And now, of course, people have wanted to mod this content back in. It shouldn't be that big of a deal given Steam had it on their platform for years and never said anything. There was never any issue with Steam itself. It's just the developers who decided to censor it because they're lazy and don't want to have to deal with multiple versions of the game, one on console, one on Steam. And, well, if Steam didn't care, why should Nexus Mods care? But they do, because Uncensored or Not, the Ready or Not mod that restores the original censored content has been taken down by Nexus Mods. It says under moderation, this mod is under moderation review, and of course it has not actually gone back up at this point in time. Now, maybe they will end up accepting it and allowing it back on their platform, as at this point in time it is still under moderation, so perhaps they will just say, oh, it was a mistake, guys, we're so sorry, as if they're trying to gauge how much backlash there's going to be before they make a full decision. Either way, it doesn't sit right with me and many other people. We've seen this happen a couple of times recently where something will say it's under moderation for several days while people are talking about it, and then suddenly it's not under moderation moderation anymore, and it's straight up banned after the discussion about it has died down. And one thing that I thought was interesting about this is Game Rant had actually recently published an article on this mod saying Ready or Not fans have already made a mod to revert the censorship. And I'm not trying to put my tinfoil hat on here, but there could be a chance that the individuals that follow these websites still went over to this and potentially mass reported it, and then it got flagged, and that's why it got taken down. But Nexus Mods has not issued a statement or a clarification, and a lot of people are talking about this. So you'd think that that would be like a top priority of theirs, is to, quell this situation, is to kill this situation before it actually starts to get even bigger. And at this point, a lot of people are talking about it on social media. So that struck me as very strange. But at this point in time, it is removed off of the platform, which of course is terrible in my opinion. I hope that this does end up getting republished on platforms like Ayaka Mods or DEG Mods, but a lot of people are saying the fun police are at it again. People need to stop using Nexus Mods, aren't allowed to have fun at all whatsoever. Here's actually a list of very different platforms that are censorship free. Not surprising, I'm sure they'd allow it if it made the trafficking victims trans or something, though. Serious question, why hasn't a competitor come along to replace Nexus Mods? There are legitimate competitors. The issue that I foresee at this point in time is that Nexus Mods has such a major back catalog that a lot of people have over the years supported them, and so people are not really interested in using like multiple platforms for multiple different games. They just want like a centralized hub for their mods, and so they go to Nexus Mods, which I do understand. It's significantly easier, but at the same time, Nexus Mods' new owners clearly do not care about this platform or about listening to gamers, and we're seeing their moderators still going crazy. They're censoring what was previously in the game. I don't understand anything anymore. I hope the alternatives become better known. It's all so tiresome. What is their actual problem? Does Nexus really not see how bad this looks? The problem is that it's ran by activists. It's not ran by people who are level-headed, who view things as, well, as long as it's not straight up illegal content, it can be on our platform. No, they pick and choose based on their personal opinions and their political narratives, right? They allow trans flags to be added to a game, but not American flags to be added to a game. Oh, they allow Biden troll mods, but not Trump troll mods. They have only recently gone back on one single situation, which was with the Oblivion remaster. They reversed course on the male and female mod, and they actually said that, oh, it was a big mistake and this shouldn't have happened, but we fixed it. And I think it's because they were facing tons of backlash on social media, and recently with Stellar Blade's launch, they've been banning some of those mods as well, like leg ones and certain costume mods, which were a little bit more risque, even though they allow nude mods in other games that they personally like. So none of this sits well with me. Nexus Mods is extremely inconsistent, and now not only do we have the developers turning their backs on gamers, but we also have the major modding platform doing the same thing, because even though this content was on Steam and in this game for years and years and years, now it's seen as too offensive, and the Ready or Not mod that restored the original censored content has been taken down by Nexus Mods. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.